What is up? We're in my shop today and this is my 2024 Road Glide. We're going to do a little informational video on installing a custom Dynamics tag mount and getting rid of the big, ugly, gaudy Harley factory one that comes on these bikes. And this is more of a universal fit type thing, so should be informational on getting it installed and help anybody that's interested in doing this basically figure it out and make y'all's life easier. So let's get started. So this is what came in the box. We got our paperwork, just some small screws, just 4 screws for this thing, and the actual tag mount itself, curved for the fender, got a nice looking LED in there. And this is what we will be getting rid of. This thing is huge and sticks out a half a mile. So this thing is not bike specific. I got this off Amazon, so it's definitely going to be a custom fit type deal. But let's get started removing this factory one first. Alright, I've got my Torx bit that fits. I'm going to start with these top 2 and get them removed. Get out of there. We'll hang on to these. I don't think we'll need them again, but hang on to them for the time being. Alright, the nut under the back is a 7/16. The nut on the bottom. So, got that out. It should pop right off. And then we've got some electrical wiring going to the tag light. See if we can get it removed. Now I've got it removed, you'll see the electrical holding it. There'll be some sticky clips stuck to the back side of the fender. You can pop those right off and gain access to the plug. We'll remove it. And now I've got this big ugly thing off. I know where that's going. And the piece that you thread into with your bolts will come off as well, slide right off the wiring. Pitch that to the side and let's get this cleaned up prior to installing the new one. Alright, now that we got that good and clean, just looking at this right off, we've got a fair distance between this mounting hole and this fender bolt. So this thing looks like it just barely covers the top, and we've got a little showing on the bottom. That's the way the bike generally sits, and you'll be looking at this at an angle. I don't think it'll be an issue as far as seeing that, but the only way that I personally see to mount this right off is you are going to have to drill some holes in the fender. That being said, to gain the look of this and get rid of that, have something so sleek and get rid of that big thing hanging off the back, it's something that I think I'm going to move forward and doing with. So let's get started mocking this thing up. Basically what I did is after I got everything removed, I got my center mark based on this hole and the width of this space. And I also got my marks calculated for these top 2 holes. What I plan to do is drill these, screw these down, mark these, and then my bottom will be where they should. I'm level across. I'm also the same distance from the bottom of the fender up to here. So I know I've got everything straight, I feel confident there, and then I've center punched the dots so I do not mess up the paint. I'm going to pre-drill these holes with a very, very small bit first, and then go back with the hole size that I need for my bolts that came with this tag mount. Alright, looks like everything's lining up good. I'm going to proceed to drill these larger ones. Nothing like drilling holes in a brand hammer new bike. I think this bike has right at 500 miles on it now, so not even to the 1,000-mile break-in, and we're drilling holes. I didn't note before, we do have the wiring coming out of a different location, which is not the center. I think what I can get away with doing, instead of drilling another hole that lines up where this wiring exits this tag mount, is running it behind this tag and just popping back through the factory hole. We'll see when we get there. Alright, that is snugged up. Standing back looking at that, looks like I've got everything centered. Top to bottom looks pretty level with the bike. I think everything looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and mark these bottom holes and we'll get those drilled. Alright, now that I've got everything mocked up on here, I've got the factory plug pulled out, I've got the bike on, what I'm going to do is I'm going, instead of cutting this and straight wiring it to these wires that come on this plate, I'm going to take this old tag mount and cut these wires here, and that way if I ever want to remove this, I have the option to unplug it rather than having to cut my connections. That being said, you've got a blue wire and a black wire. What I'm going to do is just use a test light. Okay, looks like our blue wire is our hot wire. So reference for you guys on the 24s, if you're doing this, the blue wire is your hot, the black is your ground. So we can move forward with wiring this in. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And this thing can go back in the trash. Alright, I've got my factory plug. I'm going to go ahead and cut this and wire it on with some heat shrink butt splices to this Custom Dynamics plate. That way it will be plug and play. I'm going to cut quite a bit of this wire off because having that much is just not really necessary. It says on the wiring your white is your hot and your black is your ground. So white will go to the blue factory wire and blacks will match up. Alright, now that I've got mine heat shrunk, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of electrical tape on these things just to... That should keep water out of my connection. And let's plug this thing in. We'll feed everything back into the hole. We can tidy that wire up shortly behind there so it doesn't get into our tire. But before we can move any far forward, let's go ahead and test this thing. Looks like we do have light. is to say that is working and we have everything wired in correctly. Now, you will have a little bit of wire dangling back here. You still do have these two holes. What I plan to do is I'm going to take a couple zip ties and I'm going to zip tie off this wire, and then I will secure it between the two holes in the back, and then the tag will cover up. Alright, I have my wire and everything is tied in behind here with this zip tie. It's holding it all secure so none of my wires can get into the tire. That being said, this thing is done. I've got it lightly secured. I'm going to pull it back off and put my tag on. And I am super pleased with the way this thing turned out. So much better than the stock one. Definitely a lot cleaner for sure. I'm very pleased with that. Thanks for watching the video. Stay tuned for more install videos on the 2024 Road Glide. There's quite a bit to come on it. I'm going to be doing some engine modifications and quite a few accessories. So looking forward to making a lot more content with that bike. Also plan on doing an overview on this bike, 2022 Lowrider S, that it has quite a bit of goodies in it as well. A little bit of motor work. This thing performs super well, so I'll be doing an overview video on this bike and what I kind of like and don't like, what I would do again, and probably a ride video as well. So stay tuned for more. Thanks.